Hey guys, welcome to another exciting game from the FIDE Grand Swiss Tournament that is currently being held in the Isle of Man. And this game is played between Alexei Shirov and Fabiano Caruana. Caruana is currently the number 2 in the world. And some of you have asked me what is the time control for these games. These are all classical games. And the time control is 100 minutes for the first 40 moves, followed by 50 minutes for the next 20 moves, and followed by 15 minutes for the rest of the game. Along with that, 30 seconds of increment per move. So it's pretty long game, and let's get into it. Let's see what happens in this exciting game. Alexei Shirov has the white pieces and Fabiano Caruana has the black pieces. E4 has an opening that is chosen by Alexa or Alexei, I don't know how you say it, but let's just call him Shirov. And Fabiano is fondly called as Fabi, so let's stick with that. We have C5, the Sicilian defense on the board, and now we have knight to F3. We get D6 and D4. We have C takes D4 and knight takes D4. Knight to F6. All of these moves are pretty standard moves and they have all been played before, and it's nothing new for any of the grandmasters. Knight to C3 and A6. We have bishop to E3, all developing moves. Now knight to G4. Interesting move because it immediately attacks this bishop. So bishop to C1, simply defending, and knight to F6. And again bishop to E3. So if Fabi wanted, he could have gone for a threefold repetition, but that usually doesn't happen, and it's not sportive to have a repetition in the first 10 moves. So we have E5, not going for the repetition, but it's E5. Fabi wants to continue this game, and knight to B3 now. We get bishop to E7 and F3, immediately putting some nice support to this pawn. Bishop to E6, a developing move. Looks like Fabi is ready to castle on the king side, and white hasn't really decided. Shirov hasn't decided what he wants to do. Looks like he doesn't really want to castle on the king side, because then you leave this diagonal exposed, and you have to try to keep this dark square bishop on the board. So I think he's going to castle on the queen side, but let's see. We have queen to D2, developing move, and knight B to D7, again a developing move. G4, now he's definitely giving up his king side castling, because this would be pretty risky, and he's giving clear indications that he is definitely going to castle queen side, and he wants to create a pawn storm on the king side, since Fabi is trying to castle king side. And we have castles by Fabi. Fabi says, sure, I mean, it's not an issue if you have a pawn storm, that's fine. I have all my pieces protected, so it's completely fine. We get G5, pushing the pawn even further, and knight to F5, H5. Now we have rook to G1 and B5. If your opponent is playing on the king side, you have to play on the queen side and try to create some weaknesses here. We have knight to D5, now putting the knight into a nice position, and bishop takes D5. We have E takes D5, and this is a pretty interesting move, because now this pawn is nicely controlling these two squares, and this square, especially the C6 square, could become a nice outpost for the knight. But it has to do some maneuvering, especially it has to go to A5 and then go here, and you don't even have a light square bishop to contest this square. So you have to put your knight back and then try to get it off the board. But we'll see what happens. We have F5, and you could definitely take en passant, but here H4 is played, and he decides against taking it en passant. Now we get queen to E8, and we have castles by white, the queen side castles. This is a completely new move which has never been achieved before, so from here on it's a completely new game. We have bishop to d8, going back with the bishop and trying to remaneuver it. Knight to a5. Finally, the knight is going to the c6 square and trying to occupy that outpost. From there, it will control pretty key squares like these few, for example. And if you want to get it out of there, you just have to play knight to b8 and then attack it and try to get it off. But we'll see what happens. Bishop to b6. Now these two bishops are staring at each other, and knight to c6, simply getting the knight to this wonderful post. Knight to f4, getting this knight, trying to activate the knight because it was sitting here on h5 doing nothing, and you just have to get it into the game somehow. We have bishop takes b6. But this is not the greatest move that Shirov played, and if you guys have some time, pause the video and try to find the combination of the correct combination which would continue to have equal or drawn endgame. So instead of bishop to b6, he should have played king to b1, just getting the king to safety. And now bishop takes e3, allow black to take, and then you take back with the queen. Queen takes e3 and king to h8. Now you want to put your kings to safety, and now c4. B takes c4 and even bishop takes c4, developing your bishop. Now once this diagonal opens, you're going to have a nice bishop there, and there is nothing black can do about this because he doesn't have a light square bishop to contest this. So this would have been fine and both players would have been in equal position. But after bishop to b6, this is advantage to black. We have knight takes b6 and now queen to b4. Just keeping some pressure on this pawn. Queen to d7, you have to defend the pawn because right now this pawn is weakness. It is definitely the base of the pawn chain, but it's a weird pawn structure, and it's definitely a weaker pawn here on d6. We get c4, trying to open the lines, and king to h8. First getting the king to safety, and then king to b1. White does the same thing. Rook a to e8, trying to keep this rook on a nice e file because he wants to push this pawn eventually, this pawn, and get some trades going and want to control this e file. So c takes b5, and now knight b takes b5. So this knight will capture here, now attacking the queen. We get queen to b3 and e4, trying to open up this position. Now this is pretty interesting what Shirov does. He wants to exchange off his rooks for a couple of knights, and Fabi says that's completely fine. Rook takes b5, knight takes d5, and now queen takes d5. We have e takes f3. So if you count the material, Fabi has given up two of his knights and captured one of his opponent's pawn. So for the price of a rook and a pawn, which is completely fine. But this pawn, this is a doubled pawn, and this is okay. I mean, this is giving up the advantage that white had. But it's completely fine. It's nothing bad. Queen to d2. Now you have to keep defending this f2 square because the pawn push will definitely come with a threat. And now rook to e4, trying to activate the rook. Rook to g3 and queen to e6. It is important to know that this rook to g3 was definitely a bad move. And here is why it's a bad move, because the move is played mainly to capture this pawn here, which is right now hanging. But I'm going to show you what happens if you capture the pawn, which is actually a big blunder. If you capture the pawn here, then you get rook to e1 with check. Now either you have to block and then you will lose the queen, or you just have to move the king. Once you move the king to c2, you get rook takes f1. And now what are you going to do? Your rook is attacked here. So, I mean, you're forced to take with the rook. Rook takes f1, and now queen to c4 check. you're going to give a check, and now you're definitely going to pick up this knight, or you can pick up the rook, whatever you want. Rook is preferred. So queen to c3, and now queen takes f1. Looking at this position, looks like it's black in a big advantage because you have a passed pawn. Even though white will get his own passed pawn here, but a knight against a rook is not enough compensation for this game. So after queen to e6, it would not be a good move to capture this pawn. We have bishop to d3. Now we get rook to e3, again attacking this bishop. Again a mistake by Fabi for the first time in this game, and it is important to let you guys know that both the players had spent a lot of their time. They had less than 5 minutes on their clock. They were trying to play as fast as they could. So they both were running on fumes and making mistakes, and this was the exciting time of play, because now you get rook to g1, simply defending the back rank, and there is no weaknesses now. f2, pushing the pawn, and now rook to c1. A takes b5. Finally we have knight to b4 and rook to f3, putting this rook just behind the pawn, and now finally the pawn is ready to be pushed. Not right now, because the square is covered by the bishop and the rook, but eventually if you get rid of this bishop, it's definitely there are chances. We get bishop takes b5, and now queen to e4 first with check. Knight to c2, rook to c8, and now bishop to a6. Again attacking this rook, also keeping an eye on this f1 square. We have d5 and a3. We even get d4, because both the players, like I said, have 30 seconds increment, and that's what they were using to calculate all of these lines. Some mistakes were made during these moves. Bishop takes c8, finally giving up the rook there on the final rank, and now f1, bringing the queen into the game. So now Fabi has 2 queens on the board, and it's definitely going to be some chaos. Rook takes f1, rook takes f1 with check, and now king to a2. We have d3, finally pushing this pawn forward, and this was the moment where both the players received additional time. They got probably 50 more minutes or so, depending on what were the rules. Yeah, it was 50 minutes after move 40. So they got 50 extra minutes, and both players started thinking here, and they went into a deep thought, seeing if d3 was really a good move or not. While I was watching the live commentary for this game, everybody was saying, why isn't Fabi just capturing the h4 pawn here, because then you will have a lot of your passed pawns, and it won't be easy for white to hold this position. But it would actually be a big blunder, and here is I'm going to show you this exciting line. If instead of d3 we get queen takes h4, now we have queen to b4, and now it's a it's a checkmate threat, so you have to act first. We get h6, making room for the king. Now we have knight to e3, attacking this rook and attacking your pawn here. Of course, you cannot capture this knight, because then your queen will be hanging. So, a very interesting position, and now king to h7, just getting the king to safety, but now you have to give up your rook. Knight takes f1, and this is not enough compensation for your two minor pieces. There is nothing black can do. Even if you have passed pawns of your own, these 2 minor pieces will protect them and protect the queening squares. You don't have much to show for, which is why queen takes h4 was not a good move, and thankfully Fabi did not play that move. He instead played d3, pushing the pawn further, and now we get knight to e3. We have rook to f3, attacking this knight. Now we have bishop takes f5 attacking the queen, and queen takes e3. We get queen takes queen to a5, now again threatening a checkmate here. But we have queen to e8, not allowing this to come with a threat, defending your back rank. Queen to d5, now trying to go after this pawn because it's definitely a possibility, and also you're attacking this rook here. We get queen to g8. Simply, if you attack my rook, it's not possible because I am pinning your queen. So bishop to e6, now attacking this queen, and finally queen to f8, now defending the rook. So wonderful moves from both the players, precise chess. And this is an equal position, believe it or not. After all the chaos that happened in the last few moves, this position is completely equal. Again, we have h5, now pushing the pawns forward, and rook to e3, trying to go after this bishop. We get, and just getting out of this attack also. Now you can move the queen. We have g6 and d2, finally pushing this pawn, saying if you want to capture my pawn, sure, go ahead, but I'll just capture your bishop. So it's up to you. What do you want to do? Bishop to f7, first defending the bishop, and now rook to e8, again defending your pawn. Queen to d3, and now rook to h2. Queen to f3, and this was the final blunder by Shirov, who was pretty low on time even when he played this move. And if you guys have some time, pause the video, try to find the winning combination for Fabi, which he completely found. He played rook to g2, simply keeping the pressure, saying, okay, if you want, you could just capture, I don't mind, because I'm just going to promote this pawn to bring a queen into the game. Now queen to d3 was played, again trying to protect this, but it's of no use. And after queen to b8, this was the final position in the game, as Shirov resigned and Fabi won another exciting game. Fabi, I must tell you, that is unbeaten in this tournament. He has not even drawn any games. So all the 3 games he has played in the 3 rounds, he has won all 3 games. Him, and there is one more grandmaster whose name is Wang Ho. I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but that's how I know to say it. Those 2 are the players who are unbeaten, and this is pretty exciting chess that these guys are playing. The reason why Shirov resigned here was what follows is pretty simple. Queen to b3, now you're trying to get rid of the queens. Queen takes b3, bishop takes b3, and now bishop is controlling this d1 queening square. You even get h takes g6, h takes g6, rook takes g6, and a4. Finally, you try to push your own pawns. Rook to c6, a5, g5. You have black has a second pawn that he can push, and now bishop to d1. Rook to c1, and this is finally a checkmate in 19 moves. So if you have some time, try to find it. It starts with the combination of king to b3. You have to give up your bishop if you want to get some active play. If not, if you try to save the bishop, it's of no use. Rook takes d1. Now king to c2 and rook to e1. Now you just give up this d pawn. King takes d2, and now rook to e7, simply cutting off this king from entering into the game, and you're just now going to promote this pawn. There is absolutely nothing these 2 pawns can do. Even if they are connected, your king is too far away to the queening square, and your rook and the king will do an excellent job protecting the final squares. So we have b4, trying to get some counterplay. g4, simply a6, g3, a7, rook takes a7, b5, and g2. Now nothing you can do to stop this queening. b6, rook to d7 check, king to e2, and now g1 with a queen into the game. b7, queen takes g4, queen to g4 with a check, king to e3, queen to d4 check, king to e2, rook to e7 check, king to f3, rook to e3 check, king to f2, queen d2 check, king to g1, and finally rook to e1. This is checkmate. So back in this position, it was move 52 that Shirov resigned because he saw all of this and he saw there is no way to continue, and this is definitely a losing game for him. Finally, Fabi won another wonderful game, and that's it from round 3. There are a lot of exciting games going on, and if you guys want to watch live games, they usually start after 8 p.m. in India. At least there are different times depending on what time zones you are in. But I'm going to share the link with you, so if you guys want to watch these games, feel free to do so if you have some time. And thank you to all my subscribers for subscribing to the channel. Greatly appreciate your support. If you have any questions, comments or concerns, please let me know in the description below. That's it from me. Namaste. See you next time.